It's James Murray with Net News Ledger. We are sitting in the hub on a Sunday afternoon after the election, and we've got some of the candidates, Lori Paris, Chris Krumpz, Frank Scarcello, and Mariann Sawicki, who ran in the election, and it was their first time running for all four of our guests today. And we want to talk about how, and I'm sorry, yes, Frank ran last time and almost kicked butt in Westport. But we want to talk today a little bit about what the candidates found at the doors. We're going to talk about how they felt through the campaign and a little bit of, just give you a bit of an insight into how it was to run in the election. So thank you very much for coming in.
You're welcome, James.
We'd invited more candidates. These are the four bravest that we could find to come in and talk after the election. Lori, what did you find during the campaign? What was your goal in running, and do you feel you met your goal?
I wanted to implement change, and I heard that at the doors that people were looking for a big change, and I think people voted change. But the way that the system works, the way that voting works, that didn't happen. I think you have a few new people on city council, but I'm not confident that things will change there.
Chris, what do you think?
I think we got some change, but I think it was change in the forced areas more so. If you look at it, the one main thing was Westport was really the only one that actually really had a change, and Nebing, pardon me, as well, that had a change. For the most part, it was some new faces that came out of necessities, but we still have pretty much the same type of council we've seen even within the last couple of years with the return of like Mark Bentz, for example.
Right?
Well, I got to take a little different view. I think there was reasonably a significant amount of change. I think we have 6 new people. So just on the fact that there was 6 out of 13 new people, that to me is a change. You have a new mayor. You have several of the, let's, for lack of a better word, the old guard gone. Mm-hmm. So that's a big change. You have some new players on the team that obviously are going to be are strong players with good skills. So I have to say that I see it as a significant change, and that's just from what I see.
Well, I disagree that I don't believe the old guard is gone, but I'll wait for Mariann.
What were the 6 changes that were you?
Well, the 6, we know who the 6 are. We got the 6 new people, and I know Mark Bentz is not really new,
Bill
but
Morrow's not new. He was Northwood.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So technically, we don't have any new. It's recycling.
That's
not that there's anything wrong with these
Mm-hmm.
people. They're skilled.
No, that's a good point. That's a fair point. Bill's recycled. Mark Bentz is recycled. So then we have 4 new people.
Right.
And
so Mariann, jump in. How did you find things?
Oh,
for
no.
the campaign?
Actually, I'm gonna take the positive side of looking at it. There are some new people, and I think there's some young, which is, I think, good, because it'll, a variety in that respect, and maybe even different cultures, which I think is kind of good as well. I'm willing to see what happens, and see if they could make that change, because I know that we definitely need change here. We got to get things done, and it's from my perspective, regardless of the fact that I am not the new mayor, I still have my stuff that I said I was going to do, and I'm going to do that. So that's my plan. To continue on and go forward with the things that I said I was going to do. I don't have to be mayor to do that, really. So, and hopefully everybody can work together, and we'll see what happens.
That was one of the differences I saw in this campaign, in a way. There was a lot of the at-large candidates who were competing against each other, but they were also really good friends, it looked like.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Facebook sharing pictures, and there was a lot of social media.
Yeah.
What role do you think social media played? And I'll start with you, Frank. What did social media do in this
Well, I think
campaign?
it definitely brings people together. There a camaraderie, I can't say that word, developed within all the candidates. Mm-hmm. And I think social media has a big part to play in that that happening. So, and you know, it's a small town, so everyone knows each other, and that's another nice thing, for sure. So it makes it, I think
Either that or you're related.
yeah. So it makes running, you know, for people who are out there thinking about running, it makes it easier, for sure.
Chris, you had, and Laura, you both use social media in your campaigns. How did you find the response?
I think it was pretty positive, and for me, a lot of ways. But I found you really had to be careful not to get trapped into There's a lot of traps that on certain pages where everybody wanted you to invite to their pages, and you really had to be careful not to fall into some of the conversations that people were just trying to get you into. You had to kind of stay the course and stick to your campaign, and I mean, right or wrong, the goals and the stuff were still the goals, and perspectives were still the perspectives, and it was okay for people to agree or disagree, but some people were just trying to really suck people in to really stir the pot up, I found.
Yeah, it was great, you know, not only Facebook, but Instagram, and we did some advertising on YouTube. We were also able to do some, filming of the platform in different sections, getting endorsements, putting them up on YouTube to have our own channel. But, you know, you have to have a good ground game. And what I saw was a lot of the candidates had affiliations to either the Liberal, Conservative, or the NDP party, and and they were able to use that in order to do a ground game, which is very difficult in this town, especially if you're running at large or for the mayor. It's a big city. I think people need to also be aware that, you know, this $100 or $200 you go to register to run, you better be looking at anywhere from, you know, $3,000 to $10,000 to $20,000 if you're going to seriously attempt to get one of these seats. It's not easy. I learned a whole heck of a lot. And you have to also realize that the chance of you getting in the first time is pretty slim if you don't have a machine behind you.
So are you saying, Lori, that you think that you have to have money to
Yeah, I do.
run?
I do believe you have to have money.
See, and that's one of the things that
To run
I
and
don't
win.
have.
Yeah.
And I wanted to prove that you don't need. Right? Because I tried to do the least amount of expense. I made my signs, a lot of my signs. I did buy the bag signs. And I don't have that kind of money. I'm a single mother.
And I'm not saying or putting
Yeah.
anybody down.
No,
I was very
I-
conservative in my spending.
Yeah.
But he's asking about social media, what it's
Yeah.
like. And this was just my experience. My experience was, and you'll see it in February when all the financials have to be.
Yeah.
That the people who won this campaign
Yeah.
spent money.
And it's
Yeah.
true, you really had to, because it showed. And I mean, good on them. I
Yeah.
mean, they
Yeah.
know how to
Yeah.
get the
Yeah.
funding in, because again, we're limited to what we can do on our own, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the funding has to be done, followed by the rule books and the guidelines. And it was good to, you know, actually I thank a lot of the incumbents that actually took the time to try to help along the way, you know, and it wasn't until they put their name forward that they started being more helpful. Well, they were him and Han at first, if they were coming out or not. Once they were in, they were pretty helpful and in a lot of ways to give some tips. But I mean, again, it was a lot of us first timers that seemed to plan together. I mean, most of the people at some point or other, I think I had socialized with or got to know, and we were sharing ideas and sharing like things just to try to help each other out, because it is a money game at the end of the day. Like when you look at, you know, who has the most signs? Well, they're all in the offices right now, right? For
Yeah,
example.
you have to pay to play,
But I was
and
hoping that
signs
that
are
wasn't like that.
expensive, and advertising is expensive, getting your name out there, because the biggest thing, and they'll tell you, is name recognition. And if you are a first-time candidate, it's gonna, if you don't have as much name recognition as you'd like, you can buy name recognition. You can buy it on an electronic billboard, on a billboard, you know, through advertisements on YouTube. All I'm doing is looking at this campaign, and it was a really wonderful experience. I got to meet people I would never have. I don't know how I never met Peter Panetta before. We're having a fundraiser for him here later in November. But it's all good intel, and it's all great experience. But, you know, I just want to talk to people for the reality of what you may be looking at. I might start a blog because it was very interesting. And like you, I didn't have a huge budget. I went out there, I believe, for what I spent for how many votes I got, pretty consistent. I was looking at like $1 a vote. I don't know if that's correct or not, but at the end of it, I was,
Thereabouts,
yeah, about $1 a vote. But, you know, money aside, anybody who put their name in to do that. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of strategy. Your whole life for those 3 months becomes completely focused on that race. And then trying to keep your relationships with people, friends that are running. You know, I had several friends running. I didn't know Mr. Krumpz, and now we are friends. But I think the becoming of friends is a younger, progressive generation's way of doing things. It's competitive, but it's friendly competitiveness. And we heard that lots with Mr. Stady, Mr. Sharm, Chris, a few other candidates, you know, about working together. So, yeah, all in all, the reality is, at the end of the day, it takes money to do.
And also,
one of the most frustrating things, I think, for most people in Thunder Bay, though, all the candidates worked hard. The polls closed at 8 o'clock, and then we sat.
Yeah.
And we sat. And, you know, I don't want to sound like the cat in the hat, but we sat and we sat and we sat. And it was 9:30 before the first results came out. And through the voting process, there were people who were getting, just getting a voters list that was reliable was difficult. People were getting cards for people who didn't live in the city anymore. Families were getting cards for their kids who've left long ago. What can we do, and what should happen to make sure our voters list is more secure? And Mariann, I'll start with you, and we'll work across the panel.
Well, I really don't know what we can do, but I do know that, it was very upsetting. I had a relative that got a card from someone that in their family that had passed away, and it was not nice to have that brought up and again, and as well, and I just don't understand how that happened, but I know that a lot of people did get cards that are in that house and stuff like that, as well as people that were deceased many years ago that got cards as well. So I'm not sure how, you know, where that list came from, and I know a lot of people didn't get cards either that voted in the other election, and nothing was going on with that. So
well, I think the first thing we have to do is acknowledge that there's a problem, okay? And I think from what I've heard from our city officials, I haven't heard that there's an acknowledgement of the problem. In fact, I think the city clerk, if my memory serves me correct, called it this voter card problem a red herring. So that tells me that city officials think that this problem that we're talking about is not a big deal. But I think they're wrong. I think, having said that, I can tell you that online voting is here to stay, because the people who used online voting really, really like it. You know, I can't tell you how many times, I knocked on doors and people who already voted saying, oh, this is great, it's fantastic, I love it. So we're not, you know, the train has left the station. We have to clean up that voter data. We have to get acknowledgement from the city officials that it's not perfect. It troubles me when I see a city official dismiss it, calling it a red herring, like it's no big deal, because that tells me they're not going to be working on it. So I hope they get that message, because I think it's important. The voter data is dirty. It has to be cleaned up.
Just to mirror what Frank said, again, I think that the voters list was kind of an interesting one, because John Hannam had numerously stated that MPAC was the ones that were going to be doing our voters list, and they don't really like doing it, but they're going to have to be doing it. He said that at our pre-candidate meeting back in April, I think it was, or at the West Thunder. Said it again at the Italian Hall when we had our IntelliVote initial orientation meeting. And I forget how many thousands of corrections they did the last election in 2014. They had how many thousands of corrections to the voters list, and they couldn't have done that many corrections because there's still people that haven't lived here in years on that list, and these are, so how up to their MPAC's lists, because these are MPAC has the rent rolls, right, and they have the rolls for our taxes, so they know who's living at our places. So how are you still getting these things from way back? Like there's one house that I know of that had 6 occupants, 5 of them haven't lived there in 20 years.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is when I graduated high school.
To get a card, sorry to interrupt, but to get a card for someone that, one lady's mother that died 15 years ago, Like, and then was told when she phoned the city hall that she would have to produce a death certificate. Like,
Wow.
But it's,
yes.
but that's just it. It
So-
shouldn't have to be that way. But why can't we have a remuneration process? Why can't we have the same voters list for the cities at federal, provincial, municipal?
Yes,
Now
it's
I
the same
understand. I understand that municipal is different because, you know, say a Thunder Bay Atikokan riding will encompass, let's say, like an Oliver Papoonge that we wouldn't have in our municipal election, but we could still have our municipal stuff data taken out of there, and it would be much more accurate. We just had a provincial election, and I'm well aware because I spent 168 days campaigning, May the 7th, and all of a sudden I had to put the brakes on because people were so confused because the provincial election all of a sudden hit full force. And then you're like, because now people were so confused over that. But they're like, I voted in the provincial election. Why would I not have a voter's card here? And they didn't have a voter's card, and they had trouble getting it, or they didn't. The same with the ID thing that we talked about earlier, you know, pre-meeting, pre-show. It was like, how do you get a voter, like, so how do you get to vote in Thunder Bay? Like, nobody could figure it out. And then they're, I can't be bothered to go down, or I'll go run by the mall this week. And then they went down, it was too late because they missed they weren't there anymore. So how do you even justify, like, the voters? I mean, and it's not just for, like, us, it's for everybody. I mean, that could have been more votes for Aldo or Ping or whoever, Bill Moore. It doesn't really matter. Just saying in general, like, not so for our case, but in general, because I know one of the things that a lot of us, some of us younger people had right from the start, like some of us had started really early on in May, we said, let's just try to get people out, right? I mean, things are going to fall where they fall, but if one of our things we could be is, let's be the younger people that help get the vote out. And those people were not able to vote. So did we really was our goals really accomplished? I know a few people that were first-time voters that I've known for years. They've never voted before, and they did. So that was kind of cool. I know I got 2 people that have never voted before to vote. But what's where do we end it? How do you be a driver for something when there's no car?
I like the.
Yeah, I agree with Frank. I think online voting's here to stay. I voted online. I loved it.
Yeah, 100%.
But I thought we jumped into this a little too quickly. I don't think all the bugs were worked out. Now we're feeling, you know, people are just feeling a little bit frustrated and a little confused. They want some answers. What really did happen? You know, no one's trying to be a conspiracy theory here. I think there are just some real issues that need to be worked out, should have been worked out before, but that didn't happen. So, you know, the door is shut. You know, we're all, you know, we're not here, you know, being, you know, negative or, you know, this is what happened and it's all wrong. Nope. Happy with it.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, I'm happy with it, but you know, it's just again another thing in the Thunder Bay, you know, in the Thunder Bay conversation about doing something that's just not at the level it should have been done. Another thing, the Indigenous vote, there was supposed to be something put together so that the Indigenous community could come to register to vote, because like you said, they didn't understand that to vote on a municipal level was different than the provincial or federal. They thought they were already registered to vote. And by the time that a large portion of the community realized that, it was really a little bit late. And then just one more fact is, you know, what we had said pre-show was $80,000 to get 3,000 extra votes. Online voting, I believe, was implemented to get more people to vote. And we did not get a huge, you know, I mean, the numbers aren't that different from how many people voted last.
It was not a big jump.
Yeah, it was not a big jump.
51%.
51% voted from 46% last time.
That's terrible.
62% voted online, which, like and I don't think, I think here, just for the readers and the viewers, that, you know, I'm not talking to candidates who are thinking that the election was stolen from them.
No.
I'm talking to candidates who've got a real concern for how did the democratic process work so that people are going, as we go forward, they're going to be confident in it.
We need-
And confident in this
We need
council.
transparency, and I think there's we have to be clear that there's 2 issues here. There's the voter cards.
Yeah.
That's a dirty data. I'll call it, I give it a name, dirty data from MPAC. Then there's the problems that happen on election night here in the city. Okay, it took an hour and a half. We had problems at 2 polling stations. We don't know which polling stations they were. We don't know what happened, how it was fixed. I think we should know. There should be some transparency on actually what happened. We can't really, we should, and I've reached out to a couple of councillors, and I said, please do not put this under the rug and just, and look the other way. We need to get a good explanation, because I think it's important, what the hell happened, right? That
But
night.
And with this, we'll give
wonder
this new
too-
council the opportunity to show us that they are going to be transparent. They are the council that's going to step up and make change. And one of the ways they
Yeah.
can change it is by saying to administration, we want an explanation for our
And I
citizens.
think also, sorry, I don't want to jump in, but
That's okay, that's good.
I just got the thought in my mind, and I might
Yeah,
forget.
me too. So Ray,
So the vote, because remember, there's two issues: the voter cards and the
Yes.
problems that election night software encryption, whatever it was. I don't know what they were. But with the voter cards, to call it a red herring is really irresponsible, because one of these, I know what they're going to say. They're going to say, well, it's insignificant. There's a margin of error there, but it's so small, it's not going to affect anyone. No, not until you have a really close race that someone loses by 20 votes or 10 votes. I think the closest race was 100. Cody Fraser won by 100 votes.
Yeah.
But one of these days you're going to have a close vote, and if you have this dirty data, you have to ask, did it have a role? Because so until, and there will be close votes in the future.
And it holds our democracy accountable, Marianne.
well, I just wonder too, how many actual seniors voted with this? Because I know when doing the door knocking that so many of them said to me that, wow, if there's not a polling station down in our building, then there's no way I can get there.
Yeah.
And that was almost the whole building, I'm telling you.
And the
in
online
two
voting,
of the places. So
a lot of seniors have become far more computer savvy over time. But it is a big step to go from marking an X or a circle
Yeah.
on a ballot, a piece of paper, to
yeah,
sitting there with your smartphone.
yeah.
So it's something that I think what I'm hearing from you is that it's here to stay, so let's make sure that it is totally 100% better next
But
time.
like I said, they could have spent a year going into the seniors' home, teaching them how to do it. They could have spent a year preparing the city for this, and then nobody would be sitting here going, what the heck happened? Because if you had spent the time in preparation, then you could say, well, then there was a margin for error.
Well,
there also was
I-
but there also was a test done.
Yep.
So, what did the test? Because obviously something happened on election night.
Well, they had
You know,
names reversed in one.
Names
of them.
reversed.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
They
the
had to fix
test
that.
catch that? So, we need answers, and that's what I want to see.
Yeah, okay, no. I'm not gonna
Sorry,
forget
threw you
what
off.
I was gonna say.
Sorry, I jumped
Well,
in.
and just because, okay, so if we had 27 polling stations, and now we cut it in half because of the internet, okay?
Yeah.
Would we not have, or should we not have kept it like it is and just seen, because now we can't tell whether or not that was beneficial, because the other thing I noticed in last minute door knocking near the end was, no, I haven't voted yet, because some of the doors I went up to, and a lot of people said no, because I'm a paper ballot and we're old fashioned, and these were young people too. So I would have been curious to see what the stats would have been had we kept 27. It's not that hard to man that. I'm sure people would have volunteered to do, and kept all the polling stations like they were, had the internet as well, and then did the comparison for the first trial.
There's 2 points there.
You know?
Building on what she was saying is that, one, with the polling stations being cut back, there's people that either don't have the computers or didn't have the figure out. But what do you do with the single parents and stuff that would run across? You got a lot of areas in town that are single parent type areas or what have you, and they are used to going to an area school. Now they were shuffled to another place way across from where they would normally be. For example, West Thunder, for people that lived down by the airport there.
Yeah.
So they're going to come all the way down for Westport, have to go all the way to West Thunder. They used to go to St. Anne's, I think St. Anne's School.
Okay.
and now they have to go all the way down there. That's a tough thing for seniors or kids or single parents that have to pack up
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 kids. Yeah, you get a bus pass, bus
Yeah.
ticket to go, but you still got to get there. Who's going to be able to run home, make dinner, rally the kids, drag them out?
People won't go.
See where they're going, just so they
didn't.
can vote, and they don't all have access online. That's the same thing. Some of the other issues where they want to go online that I was pushing for. My thing was because not everything is accessible online. So the polling station is still important. Then I found out that night at one of the, because I went to a couple of different posts, whatever you want to call it, watching for the results, and one of the trustee candidates came in and said that they found out that they actually had put more in some of the senior homes. Was it senior homes? There's somewhere where they opened up some temporary polling stations because the only way to get those people to vote. And there was a big issue. So apparently now, if that, I'm not sure the validity of that, but that was the unofficial that I heard. So if that's true, did they actually do that at some of the seniors' homes?
Okay.
Or did they not? And
So
I don't know
there's-
because this is here stuff that's being heard, but is it true? If they did, good on them, because the key thing here is for people to vote. Because I mean, as far as like, we need to trust in this current council now that's there. And I know that if I was successful in this election, I would be sitting there wondering about what people really think, a shadow of a doubt, if they want to start talking about this, because it could be a tainted thing. It's not by anybody's omission. This could be a really solid council, and we don't, like you said earlier, we don't want to have the cast of doubt because of all these mispreparation things that are out there. So we need to really figure this out for the future so people can get out and vote, because we owe it to the people that did win to allow them to have an opportunity to do what their best foot forward and not have any, type of a cloud over them to start right off the bat.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I would say,
Yeah.
I don't think there's, significant cloud.
No, but I mean in the process.
It's the
That's thing.
process, yeah.
Right, but people don't differentiate that in this town
Yeah.
very well.
But we just need answers. This is the second election in a row where we've had problems. So chances are everything is fine, right? But we need to know that.
You bet.
I need, just because a guy tells me, don't worry about it, everything is fine, that's not enough. We need to have some answers. People have to be asked some questions, and they have to answer them honestly. And I hope this current council understands that these are important questions, and they talk to the city officials and ask what went on. Not just, don't worry about it. That's just not good enough.
That's the parent to the teenage child. Listen or else.
But you just sat here
To
5
start-
minutes ago and said that there's 2 issues, and now you're saying that everything's fine. So which is it? Either there's 2 issues, or there's not 2 issues. You can't have it both ways. You
What do you
can't
mean?
suck and blow at the same time.
What did I say?
You said there's 2 issues. There's a dirty list,
There's a dirty list.
and then you said there's the issues with the voting.
Okay,
And
okay.
then you said, oh no, everything's fine.
No.
You just said
no,
that.
I was being sarcastic.
Oh, now you just said it. Okay, so which?
I didn't say everything is fine. I meant that in.
If
Can
you're
we
being
rewind the
told
tape?
everything's fine.
Yeah.
No, you misunderstood what I said there. I didn't say everything is fine.
I just wanted to make sure because
No.
I wasn't trying to say that there's a cloud, but what I'm saying is that there is some kind of people having thoughts in their head, and I think that needs to be separated because
Yeah.
I think it's not fair to the people that are
Yeah.
on council now. Is what my point was.
No, yeah,
So
that's
with
good.
regards
So
to your,
so what I want to do is we're going to start to wrap up here, and I think the real thing that I've heard from a lot of candidates is that running for office in this city gives you an opportunity to learn about this city like nothing else. Mariann, and what was your take on getting to doors to people you didn't know, meeting people, going out to the forums? What did you find, and where do you go from here after this experience?
Well, I met lots of wonderful people. I found it an experience. I've never been so nervous in my life with that first debate for the real estate board, and but I'm optimistic. I think that everybody really, that all of us want what's best for Thunder Bay, and I'm just gonna think positive about this and move forward and do whatever I can for Thunder Bay. Continue to do what I said I was gonna do, and hopefully everybody else will. Anybody that wants to help me, come on out, and we're gonna make Thunder Bay great again.
Thank you. Frank?
Well, the biggest thing I think is when you get into this business is you meet a lot of nice people, and if you're a people person, it's kind of, the hard work is not really that hard because you're meeting people every day and having conversations with them. I will say this though, from a strategic point of view, starting early may not be a big benefit because if you were a one-man show like I was, who started really early, who was committed to knocking on all the doors.
One-woman show.
Yeah, when you go really early, in July and August, people are just not tuned in.
Yeah.
They are not tuned in at all. And even August, even September. But coming those last few weeks before the election,
Yeah.
people are really tuned in. And if you can, like for example, look at Bill Morrow. He started his campaign quite late. I was wondering, when's Bill going to start? Frank Puglia was out there, consistently. But I think Bill knew, he's been through a few elections, right? People are not focused yet. So look at Peng. Peng, he let it rip last few weeks. So I think it's important to understand that, and you learn a lot. That's for sure.
Chris?
Definitely a learning experience. Met Aldo for the first time at the tugboat, the Alexander Henry launch, and he said to me just very quickly, he says, "Trust me," he says, "you think you know a lot of people," but he says, "until you get out there," he says, "you'll see that you don't know as many people as you think, no matter what." And everybody always thinks that you know tons of people, but you know it. No matter how many people you know or what you just don't. And then even the issues, like eyes open, like things are going on in the community. You think but then you start going to various walks and various things. And I went to 3 walks. I went to a couple powwows. I went to various other events, and you just learn so much that you didn't realize was actually going on in the city, or it's as bad or even not as bad in some cases you think, or different areas. And that's some of the situations, like Mariann said, that we can still lobby and advocate, do whatever we'd wanted to do. Like I really have an appreciation for EMS more than I ever did. I have friends that are there, but I never really realized how much of an issue there is, and I'm trying to find a way to still advocate for them, because coming from a secondary line of professional, I was in the security industry, I find that the security guards at various locations are more protected than the EMS people that go out every day.
Wow.
And that's and to have some people say, well, that's the job they choose. Well, they choose to help people. They don't choose to have the things happen to them in the course of their day just to make them feel a little bit more comfortable. And you find out too that that's not even all on the city budget. That's subsidized by the province. You think that's something that we should probably lobby more. But again, not to there's so many things that I had learned from a non-political standpoint from the city that really makes me realize that there's a lot of room to step up and a lot of room to continue to grow with people. And I plan to look on getting on some committees. I don't know which ones yet, but I will. I've been researching it, and been again luckily having some people that are currently on council and such helping guide to what I could be doing. And I'm just gonna have my eyes open, so now the ears are open. And somebody said this must have been like a woken experience for you, and I said, well, definitely was. And look forward to working with even some of the people that all of us our candidates, our non-successful candidates. There's a lot of us that have things that we can do to, maybe build, and not necessarily run. We're not talking about running slates, but if we all work towards common goals, maybe it'll all help everybody win. Because at the end of the day, none of us really ran for ourselves. Like, it wasn't like we were running to get rich quick off of this or anything. A lot of us were running because we had passion for various things, and we shared that, and we're able to, each of us, that's how we all learned. And I think that that's something that going forward from a progressive standpoint, it's a win-win for the city, for the people of the city.
Thank you. Lori? Where next?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm with Frank again. We see eye to eye. The people in this city are so nice. There's and Chris is right. You think you know a lot of people till you start knocking on those doors. There's a huge community here, a diverse community. I think I just want to end this by saying that I don't think the people, the citizens in Thunder Bay got the change that they were looking for. I was a little bit naive when I thought that, you could just, that the people in Thunder Bay could vote in who they wanted to. I think it's a little more complicated. I'm prepared for the next time. Rest assured, I will be running in 2022 at this point. But at the same time, what happened is I got phone calls right the next day with people wanting to put together grassroots organizations to hold the city council accountable. I wish them all the best and I congratulate them, but there are people who will be watching for the next few years and ensuring the transparency and ensuring that the platforms that they stood for, that they're delivering on those platforms. And then me moving forward, I'm going to be putting my name forward to sit on the Fort William Business Improvement Association. I'm going to focus my energies on downtown Fort William and ensuring that this revitalization happens. We've been working on that down here for 6 years, and I hope by getting on that board, we can drive that to a successful conclusion. Downtown Fort William can come back. The property owners in this area deserve to have buildings that they've invested in for a lot of years, have the value, and we're going to deal with Victoriaville, aren't we, Frank?
Thunder back in Thunder Bay.
Take down Victoriaville.
Yeah, let's deal with Victoriaville.
All right. Well, thank you all
Oh, you're
for
welcome.
taking the time.
Thank you, James.
And I want to thank
Thanks,
you, Lori,
James.
for giving us some space here at the hub today to talk on a chilly but not too wintry start to Thunder Bay. I'm James with Net News Ledger, and I want to thank you for tuning in.